When I was 8, my grandfather took our whole family into his car. It was crowded inside. Adult, children, even our pregnant neighbor. My grandfather threw the things into the trunk without extra words, as if he was afraid of losing time. We were stuck in a traffic jam on the bridge, and at one moment he started arguing with a man who had a machine gun. I clearly remember that feeling when you're a child and adults suddenly became a superhero trying to save you. But they're so confused that they can barely hide it. Finally, we reached the city nearby, our relative's house. The war, which continued for 4 years with differing intensity, caught everyone by surprise. Just like a firework that suddenly woke us up. It was the most impressive firework display of my life. On the other side of the Inguri River, fireworks were exploding in the sky, and with the burning letters there appeared the word Abkhazia. People on the other side of the river celebrated the victory, and suddenly we all understood that we no longer have a home. At that moment, of course, I didn't realize that my model of reality started to form. In 2001, I returned to Georgia. I can't speak my native language, but I understood some words. My mother wanted me to stay here and study in Tbilisi, but I was doubted. Could a place that I left as a child ever become my home again? In a couple of years, I found myself as a student of the Faculty of Journalism in Tbilisi. And it seems as the most obvious profession for me. Maybe because I grew up in the middle of major events happening, and intuitively I always wanted to learn how to explain them. This is 2003. I passed my first year at university. I'm in Moscow. My friend and I were on music festival, stage, our favorite artists, this feeling of freedom. I didn't realize when my phone lost connection and stopped receiving messages. While leaving the festival area, I saw my mother. She was in tears. I was told that there was a terrorist attack at the box office. That summer ended earlier than I've planned. This is not my war, I told myself while flying back to Tbilisi. My name is Marta. I was born in Abkhazia, Georgia. At 8, my parents took me to Moscow because of the war. I speak Russian and English well, and I often visit my grandmother in Gali. With that introduction, I came to my first job, and I've never left the newsroom since then. It is 2008 summer. We were covering shelling in Skhin Valley region every day. War began. Among my friends, journalists, there were an excitement. We were young and unexperienced, and working in a hot zone meant fear and excitement at the same time. But war didn't excite me. I even felt slight embarrassment because of my emotional restraint. I was trying to explain to my friends that war is not only about strong report. It is tens of thousands newly displaced people. But nobody heard me. At the first day of the August 2008 war, I found myself in Gori. We were filming some general footage for evening news, like buildings, areas. We talked to our colleagues from international media. And suddenly, our driver, who used to be a soldier and he used to serve in a peacekeeping operation in Afghanistan started to shout that we should find a shelter, we should all lay down. Flying object flew over us. You know, I was 23 years old and I didn't know yet that it was military jet named MiG-25, MiG-25. I was very scared and I barely could have found a single word during my life report. And that was my second word of my entire life. Our footage became a real breaking news. It spread all over the world. But I didn't care. I returned to Tbilisi and I hated war even more. And I promised myself to stay away from hot zones, at least professionally. I worked a lot. I traveled with a government official, covering international visits, covering Georgian foreign policy. But my tone wasn't very popular on Georgian TV. My producer even would tell me on my EPIs to be a bit more emotional, but I cannot. And I didn't want to do any conclusions without evidences, just to provoke emotions among my audience. All I wanted just to deliver very important idea. Miracles do not happen themselves. If they happened, it is a result of hard, constant, and complex work. But people do believe in miracles, they wait miracles, and honestly, they do not want to do anything by themselves. And I observe how they struggle with anxious reality. One, live in an endless news coming from them from all sources, scrolling, living in notifications. Others just consciously cut themselves off from information because it's hard, it's overwhelming, but both are anxious. First, because they receive too much chaotic information. Others, because they do not want to know what's happening around them, and they just ignore reality. And my family is not an exception. In 2016, I created a Russian language media about Georgia, SOVA News. And it was kind of tribute to my big family. Part of them live in Russia, part still live in Abkhazia, Georgia. In all family chats, I am the party pooper, the town crazy lady. I send them the news they need to know, and of course, they get angry on me about all the time. Once, one very close person of mine has told me that he stopped following news afterwards in 19th because he didn't want to feel himself that helplessness again. And I was thinking about a very long time because my path turned out differently. What kind of information do I receive? It should be high quality, no matter whether it represents conservatives or liberals. I take facts from professionals or I double check it myself. In journalism, there is a rule of 3 sources. Before publication, information should be confirmed by 3 independent and reliable sources. And I apply this rule in my life as well. But one important thing, information should not be consumed without limits. One very interesting term was introduced recently. It's a critical ignoring. It is the skill to ignore meaningless, alarming, unnecessary news and posts. Rational conception of information make us not victims, but managers. My experience led me to one very simple metaphor. Information is a map. So map doesn't show you the road. It doesn't eliminate minefields. It doesn't remove mountains. It doesn't even make a road safer, but it shows where you are at this moment, and it's more than enough to make a decision. I just decided to be the manager of this flow and not to drown with it. And that makes me stronger. That makes me confident in my decision to live here and now, no matter how this decision appears on others' eyes. When I know all pros and cons, anxiety steps back, and on its place appears almost unexplainable and strange feeling of freedom. And knowing the full picture doesn't scare me, it makes me free. Once I promised myself to behave more immaturely, because I usually observe confused people who was trying to solve the problems as they come at the very last moment. And its effects on their children, family, and on themselves as well. And I told myself that I would not to drown in this chaotic flow, but try to manage it. Information doesn't save you from danger. It just helps you to be sure in that you did enough, you think enough, and you shouldn't blame yourself that you didn't do so. And now when many of my friends and colleagues are thinking about emigrating from country or even packing the bags, I refuse the opportunity to leave the country, and I definitely know that it would be a mistake for me. But if everyone will do everything right, life will lose its most intense and unforgettable moment. Well, paradoxically, the most impressive side of my life is still fireworks. At that night in 1993, as a sign of new, difficult, but very, very interesting life. Thank you.